Hey folks, another video here today. I'm kind of fooling around out here, kind of wasting some time in the garage because it's nice and cool in here. And I have some little things to take care of. I want to talk about my transmission a little bit. I'm going to back up the camera on here. So obviously you guys know this is a 727 torque flight if you're into Dodges. This, I believe, is an 8 or 8.5 inch converter. I can't remember. I've had this converter for, let's say 30 years. Almost 1995 I think I bought this, or early 96 I purchased this converter. Now this is a dynamic converter when Frank Lupo had dynamic going back in the day. I'm sure, I don't know if it's still around actually, but it's been tightened up. I sent this to Ultimate Converter Concepts to get tightened up by Lenny, I believe his name is now. I haven't talked to the guy in a long time. Because that's what I was told to do, and apparently they're really good, and I have no real comment on it. He did a good job tightening it up, and I think he gave me put a new starter ring on it too, because I broke this with my old 440. But it's tightened up for the 493. Anyway, I built this transmission. It's pretty much your standard 727 deep pan. I put a lot of A&A transmission parts in it, as you can see. I dust it off while we're talking. I'll just use this dirty rag. So obviously on the outside, it's, you're not going to make a transmission look much different. But this is an old scatter shield too, carbon fiber scatter shield. Let's see the date on it. Yeah, that's interesting. Is there a date there? 05. March of 05. Yeah. So I tell you, I'm not lying. I've had this stuff a long time. So this dipstick I had to modify to fit in the car with a blowtorch. Anyway, the more about the build on this transmission. What is in this? All the shafts are stock. I'm trying to remember, because you see obviously my time frames. It's got a 4 planetary set in there, 4-gear planetary, whatever you call it. It's got I think it's is Mancini make the Sprag, or is it A&A? A&A might have made the Sprag. I think the planetary came from A&A as well. And it's got a max wedge governor in it. I let the transmission shift for me, because it's so much more consistent. I just foot brake the car. I don't have any fancy shit like that. I just foot brake it and go. This is not the bell housing the tail shaft housing that came on the transmission. I broke that. I think I bent the stock drive shaft. Apparently 2-barrel 383 drive shafts cannot withstand a mild 440 build with slicks on it and 391 gears. They bend drive shafts pretty badly and then just snap your tail shaft housing off when it vibrates. But the shaft didn't get bent. It's just still the stock shaft. So I also have, I'm thinking as I go here, and there's some type of fly hitting me in the face. So what do I have? There's extra clutch discs in it, and there's more springs. I think I basically went through the A&A catalog and picked out some shit to toughen it up. But mostly it's stock. I mean, I have whatever the A&A bands in it. I don't know if they're fancy or anything, but just standard discs and steels. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't really remember if I have anything fancier than that. But I built it. So if you're thinking about doing a auto trans rebuild and you're freaked out about it, it's really not that hard. I ended up, this is how long ago this was. I bought a VHS tape to rebuild this, and I did 2 or 3 transmissions. Yeah, 3. I rebuilt this when I damaged it because I had the original radiator, and the auto trans cooler in the radiator leaked and put antifreeze through it and ruined all the clutches. So I rebuilt it then, and then I rebuilt a friend's transmission from that 68 Cuda that ended up getting rolled in a ditch by the transmission guy who built it wrongly. So then I rebuilt that transmission, and then I've upgraded and built this one. So I ended up building a table with like a hole in it and like a bracket or something that makes it easier to work on these. Per this VHS tape, I saw the tools this guy was using, and I just followed this tape and rebuilt it. They're pretty simple if you break them down into subsections. Now, like I said here before, I'm working off 20-year-old memories easily or older, so it's going to be a little vague. So like all my videos kind of, I think, focus towards like dudes who might just be starting or just kind of into modifying shit for the, the first few times. But you break this down into subsections on your table. I think it was this rolling table right here that I modified for this process, and I drilled a couple holes in it, as you see, and I mounted a big stainless steel food table that I got from a prison or something, and it had like a lip so my shit wouldn't roll away. I drilled a couple holes in that, bolted it down. And then off the side, probably right here, I had the steel plate with a hole in it, right? I still have these parts around. That way I could stick. Hold on. Hey, folks, I'm back a minute there. I got interrupted. My father actually just got back with a giant camper. You can almost see it moving out there as he backs it in like the Titanic. Where is it? Oh, there's part. The light's really shiny out there. Anyway, I was talking about mounting that plate here. That plate, there was like a hole for a shaft or something, or a big hole, and you put your stuff in there, and it would hold it for you as you disassemble it. But anyway, I'm gonna kind of quicken this up so I can give him a hand in a minute. The valve body in here is, I don't know, it's a mild performance. I forgot about that actually. Shift kit. It doesn't shift super hard, but just hard enough. It's not abusive, but it's quick, right? And the whole transmission is almost, it's similar to the engine. It's not super hopped up, but I mean, this thing has taken some abuse and it's lived no problem. I mean, I run like that 11 flat run I talk about, which was probably a 1090 because I let off early like a moron. I don't think this is having any problem taking 1090 runs in a probably 3,750 pound Charger or a little bigger. I mean, the car was 456 gear at that run. Now it's a 355, so there's probably a little more strain going on the transmission if I were to take it to the drag strip. But an upgraded stock transmission like this, shifting it on its own with a max wedge governor, which is in here somewhere. Super easy to change those governors too, if you ever wanted to. They can take a ton of abuse, and I mean, like, the older I get, the more I realize like an 11-second car is badass, man. Or even a low 12 car is badass. And you can, and on the street, your stuff's going to live forever because you can't get that type of traction to shock and put all that load on it. So anyway, I'm just trying to, kind of explain maybe not the limitations of the 727, but like the amount of abuse they will take. You could definitely take hopped up Hemis, race Hemis, street Hemis. Like this, I believe I was probably pushing about 640 horsepower in that 13-to-1 440. Now, I mean, I wasn't getting everything out of that motor because I was young in the game at that point and didn't know really how to tune it that well. The heads weren't pointed that good. And the torque might have been down a little compared to what a 493 is going to push. But I mean, the car was pulling the left wheel off the ground. And this transmission right here, stock transmission for that 383 behind my radiator under by that shop vac, that came with this in the car, and it's still running today. So I think it had been rebuilt once, I think, by a shop somewhere down in North Carolina where I got the car. But I mean, that was just, factory rebuild stuff, and it worked fine, but I nuked it with that antifreeze. But anyway, don't be afraid to work on your own stuff, your own transmission. They're not that complicated, guys. You just take it subsection by subsection. Little groupings of part, like I can't think of the names of the shit anymore. I'm not way into transmissions, so but they come apart, like front pump comes out and like your front drum section with all your clutches, and then your reverse one, I think. Don't quote me on this, and your valve body. And then work on each part, like it's the whole, like, don't eat you eat a cow a piece at a time. You know, you don't take on the whole cow at once, and it's not that hard. You know, I use a low car kickdown cable on this thing, which seems to work great. These are all just factory parts, man. It's good enough. Good enough to run 1090s, you know, shifting on its own. I don't need, you know, I mean, the next step up is a diminishing returns step for sure with money per performance you're going to make. So I'll splice this video into the last section I made there before I got interrupted, and work on your shit so you can enjoy it. Later.